This is what I think about resumes, and especially when it comes to these two fighters specifically, because they got a lot of the common opponents.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But the day that they fought these opponents is what's uncommon. Mm-hmm. And so you can pick who you want to pick, and I fought him, and he had I broke both eyes, and then you fought all this and that. Bottom line is, a lot of fighters aren't who they are on Tuesday. They're not that same fighter on Saturday.
You are absolutely
That's the bottom line.
So what about you?
What I'm saying is exactly who I was against Crawford was not who I was against Spence. Ain't taking nothing from Crawford, and ain't taking nothing from Spence whatsoever. But for me, my situation was all internal.
Okay.
That was that I took to the ring. That I just, and when I had that moment, we seen the towel come in, because that was the moment that was expected for the sake of words, whatever the case may be.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Shawn Porter breaks the bad news to Terence Crawford ahead of his upcoming fight with Errol Spence Jr. next week. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. You heard the clip at the beginning that was Shawn Porter on his podcast. Now, I famously came out with the term Podcast Porter in reference to the version of Shawn Porter that Terence Crawford got. And ironically enough, if you listen to the clip at the beginning again, Shawn Porter all but kind of confirms this. You're welcome to rewind this video and go start from the beginning again, but I'll paraphrase. So Shawn Porter on his own podcast, he was previewing the upcoming Spence Crawford fight, and he says some guys are not the same on Saturday as they were the previous Tuesday, or some guys on Tuesday aren't the same fighter on Saturday, meaning things can really occur on a fight-to-fight basis, meaning you can see a guy and they look good, and then that guy gets old overnight. I mean, even look at, like, let's say Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor, I don't think he looked great versus Catterall, but he looked like he didn't even look really formidable versus Teofimo Lopez, and it was seemingly kind of like overnight from one fight to one fight. Like Jack Catterall, I thought he won, and then he had a bit of a layoff. Josh Taylor comes back, and he doesn't even look like the guy that beat Regis Prograis. Taylor's not fighting with the conviction of a guy who's going to win a World Boxing Super Series tournament. And so Shawn Porter's right. You know, guys, they could fight on Tuesday and not be the same. Look at Kell Brook. You know, Kell Brook is a perfect example, which we'll get into because it pertains to Crawford's resume. So he said guys sometimes aren't the same that they were on Tuesday on Saturday, right? And then one of his co-hosts said something to the effect of, yeah, what about you? Meaning you have this great resume, you fought everybody. And in his preamble, Shawn Porter was basically talking about the back and forth action from Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Errol Spence is saying, like, you know, I beat guys when they were champions and they had belts, so they had something to lose. And this standpoint makes a whole lot more sense than what Crawford said. Because Crawford, he's saying stuff like, you know, forget that. Errol Spence, again, he's saying, yo, I fought when they had belts and something to lose. So they were more in prime. They were champions when I fought them, Kell Brook and Shawn Porter, since those are the two guys that are mutual opponents. Crawford's angle was, yeah, but I stopped Kell Brook before you. And what did I do to Shawn Porter that you couldn't do? And he's referring to Terence Crawford in Shawn Porter's last fight of his career. Shawn Porter got stopped by Crawford, and that marked the first time he had ever been stopped in a pro fight. So he's saying, hey, Errol, nana boo boo, I stopped Shawn Porter and you didn't stop him. Your fight was just a war and you dropped Shawn Porter, but you didn't get the stoppage. And Crawford has been saying this for a while. And I told you my honest thoughts. I told you that timing matters context matters when you're talking about boxing, especially. And I even use this example for the new people just joining me, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to use it again. Canelo, when he was making a name for himself, he knocked out a fighter named Carlos Baldomir. Canelo was only like 19 years old. Previously, Baldomir is a former champion and faced other very Hall of Fame names like Floyd Mayweather and Zab Judah. But the biggest difference is context and timing. Canelo got him years later when he was on the rise up, and Carlos Baldomir was not even the same guy he was when he fought Zab Judah. He wasn't ranked as high when he fought Floyd Mayweather as when he fought Canelo. So Zab nor Floyd brutally knocked out Carlos Baldomir. However, Canelo on his way up did. What does this mean? Not really anything, because when Floyd Mayweather fought against Canelo, when they fought, Floyd schooled him and made it look easy. So these triangle theories really don't add up to anything. Same thing with, you could say, oh, Shane Mosley rocked Floyd in the second round. Yeah, but Shane Mosley was younger and he was coming off of a performance over Margarito where he stopped Margarito in the Staples Center. When Canelo got him, he was years later, several other losses later, and he was at a different part of his career, and Canelo's naturally bigger than Shane Mosley. So this is just something completely different. So Crawford's argument never really made sense to me, because Errol Spence's argument actually is valid. When the guy has a belt and a guy has a title, of course, he's probably going to be harder to beat just because he has something to lose. He has something that, should he lose, can really set him back. But once a guy is lost, he's lost, you know? Once a guy doesn't have the title, he doesn't have the confidence nor the championship hardware to go with it to keep the confidence necessarily, right? Like, I really feel we'll stick with the welterweight division because I could do this. This is easy work. It's very easy for me to talk boxing nonstop. Please subscribe. But I think another example would be a guy like Jeff Horn. He's pretty much a one-hit wonder. He's a once and done type of champion, where before the Pacquiao fight, he really hadn't fought any significant names. The biggest name he had fought was Randall Bailey, a guy he stopped, but Randall Bailey was 42 years old, and having power, Randall Bailey actually hurt Jeff Horn in that particular fight. For whatever reason, Top Rank gave him the opportunity instead of a guy like Terence Crawford, and Crawford needs names like a Manny Pacquiao, wasn't able to get him and secure those names, although his team said Crawford was going to get a Pacquiao fight, right? And the point being is Jeff Horn didn't really have a deep resume before. I don't even think he beat Pacquiao, but the judges had him beating Pacquiao, and then he loses immediately to Terence Crawford. So Top Rank wasn't willing to feed Pacquiao to Crawford so he can get the dub or try to get the dub. They fed him to an Australian school teacher who only had like 15, 16 fights. And Crawford somehow seems mad at the world and angry with PBC, but these were decisions with your longtime promoter. They didn't give you the Pacquiao fight. But back to the point that I was initially making, Jeff Horn, he never rose to that level, that championship level. In fact, he had one other fight after the Crawford loss, and then he got stopped and beat, I believe, by Michael Zarafa. And then he later loses to Tim Tszyu. So again, when guys don't have belts and they're no longer champions, they're not living like a champion necessarily, because you're not a champion, right? You don't have the confidence. Who knows what your diet is like? Things like that. And then it went all downhill for Jeff Horn's career. And this is the champion that Crawford beat in order to become a champion. That's literally the only champion he's beaten at the welterweight division. So now you look at some of the former champions like Shawn Porter and Kell Brook, and Kell Brook was washed at the point in which Terence Crawford fought him in the first year of the pandemic in America, and they fought in a bubble and they had COVID masks on, right? And this was in 2020. It just wasn't. So for Crawford, yeah, he stopped Kell Brook sooner than Errol Spence. But again, Errol Spence fought Kell Brook when he was a champion, undefeated at welterweight, and beat him in his backyard before 20, 30,000 of his rabid fans in the UK. It's just overall more significant. But Crawford was trying to convince the world that he beat these guys better. I mean, it's similar to Pacquiao when he was coming up. This is what they did. They would take old Floyd Mayweather leftovers and then say Pacquiao knocked him out sooner. So Floyd Mayweather fought the undefeated Ricky Hatton, and Pacquiao fought the version of Ricky Hatton that had already got knocked out by Floyd Mayweather and was no longer undefeated. Pacquiao just knocked him out quicker. But again, he was tenderized and softened up by Mayweather taking his O and knocking him into the turnbuckle. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to put all this stuff into perspective. So now with Shawn Porter coming out and admitting that he wasn't the same, then Crawford's resume, just like I told you, doesn't really age well. You fought faded champions like Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Shawn Porter, if you listen again, he literally said at the beginning, he says, so when the towel came in, it was, for lack of a better word, expected. So this is eerily similar to what Kenny Porter was saying. Kenny Porter was like, my son didn't train like I wanted him to. Some things went wrong in camp. And then he just said in the podcast that I played at the beginning, he said, yeah, all my stuff with Crawford, I wasn't the same when I fought Crawford that I was when I fought Errol Spence, and it showed up and it showed to the public. And despite that, even though you fought a step down version off of a 450-day layoff of Shawn Porter, he still wasn't doing horrible. He just got stopped in the end. You know, Crawford's a great finisher and turned it up on him when his team said he was down on the scorecards. But once again, ego Stradamus strikes again. Shawn Porter's telling you out of his own mouth that he wasn't the same fighter by the time he fought Crawford. And it's very funny because this information has always been there. It's just the Bud Buddies refused to listen to it. But now you have no choice because, again, Shawn Porter, he's telling you out of his own mouth that there was internal turmoil or something going on, which is, again, basically what Kenny Porter says. Why would a man say there were internal things that went on in the Crawford camp? You know, I don't know what these things are, but obviously it was something because Kenny and his son both keep talking about it, right? Beyond that, he's telling you out his own mouth he wasn't the same fighter. And beyond that, his performance showed. I mean, you know, Shawn Porter had a chin when he fought Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman hit him with big shots. He just kept coming. Errol Spence dropped him, hit him with a huge shot. He just kept coming. He fought Danny Garcia, a big puncher, just kept coming. And, you know, it just so happened by the time he got to Crawford, he was already a podcaster. He was doing all these commentary gigs. He was probably not doing certain things in training. I mean, I think one time Shawn Porter said his dad wanted him to swim or something like that. And he was like, I did all this other stuff, row work. Why do I got to swim on top of that? But if that's part of what made you formidable against Thurman and Kell Brook and guys like Errol Spence, maybe your dad was right in terms of doing that, you know? But for whatever reason, you know, these things didn't exist. Maybe he became complacent or fell in love with the podcasting side of things. You have to really want to get punched in the face when it comes to this boxing game. So all in all, it's not news to me. I already knew this because I told you guys this was the case. The only people that refused to believe it were the Bud Buddies, and now you have no choice to believe it. But at the end of the day, Crawford's resume does not age well. Jeff Horn, you know, was really not a credible champion, shouldn't have beat Pacquiao. Jose Benavidez shot in the leg. You know, a lot of these guys haven't really went on to do anything sensational and or retired pretty soon after. Amir Khan maybe had a few fights and then retired. Kell Brook retired one fight after the Crawford fight. Shawn Porter immediately retired, and now he's telling you that he wasn't the same fighter. So basically, Errol Spence fought the harder version of Shawn Porter. And to me, that was evident I was live and I seen the fight and I seen the effort from Shawn Porter and his determination and willpower to try to get the victory. And I could tell you it was a different version, just a different vigor and intensity in that Errol Spence fight. But this really shoots down Bud Crawford saying, oh, look at how I beat Shawn Porter. What did I do that you couldn't do? When Shawn Porter himself is telling you that he wasn't the same fighter. So you basically got a watered down version off a 450 plus day layoff, and Crawford's bragging about it. I guess none of it will matter next week, July 29th, as Errol Spence and Terence Crawford step up to face each other. So I just want to make this video to say, I told you, we unpacked. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.